Good afternoon, JRB Fort Worth. I'm Captain Mark McLean, your base commanding officer, and I'm here in the VR-59 hangars to bring you a monthly update just about what's going on in and around the base. I'll talk to you today about some MWR things, some HPCon Charlie related items. I've got Doc here from the 301st Medical Team. He'll provide you an update on what vaccines inside the fence line look like and what distribution in the weeks and months to come will look like. And then I brought some sailors here from my team that I'm going to Bravo Zulu before we close out this video for the day. So as you'll notice, I'm in a face mask. This doesn't look a lot different than what it's looked like in 2020 on the base as we transition through HPCon Charlie, but we do have a new administration in DC now, and some executive orders have come out that I want to make you aware of. Face masks are mandatory on federal installations from this point forward. We've got some further guidance as of this last Friday from our Secretary of Defense that require us to wear face masks in places that we may not have been accustomed to as we were going through 2020. So that is everywhere on the installation with the exception of 4 places. Inside of your office, when you are alone with your door closed, when you are eating or drinking on the installation, when you are going through the security checkpoint and they ask you to take your face mask down so that they can verify your identity, and then anytime you need a reasonable accommodation for a disability that you may have. Outside of that, face masks will be required at JRB Fort Worth going forward. This shouldn't be anything new for us. We've been in HPCon Charlie since March of 2020. We're coming up on the year anniversary of that. So a lot of the things that you're going to read in that executive order, in that memo from Secretary of Defense are going to look very familiar, but will be somewhat more restrictive as we move forward. I get asked the question all the time, Skipper, when are we going to get to HPCon Bravo? So I want to address that here because for us it's going to come down to a few things. Transmission inside the fence line, and then what does transmission look like outside the fence line in Tarrant, Parker, and Dallas counties. So right now we're doing well to keep the virus down on the base. Back in the fall we were single-digit active cases, somewhere between 4 or 5 active cases we were carrying on a day-to-day basis. More recently, as we transitioned into the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, our numbers did elevate up in the 20s to 30s, and that was in parallel to what you were seeing out in town. Now, in order for me to make a recommendation on us moving to HPCon Bravo, our cases here on the base not only need to be in the single-digit range, but out in town, I'm looking for a goal of about 50 cases per 100,000. 50 cases, 50 active cases per 100,000. And that is a calculation that we look for in a 7-day period. Going through the holidays, we were hovering somewhere around 1,000 active cases per 100,000. The good news is those numbers are starting to come down in Tarrant County. More recently, we were at 600 per 100,000. That was 2 weeks ago. And as of today, I believe we're hovering somewhere around 350 to 400 cases per 100,000. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't have a date on the calendar that's circled, but I do think we're getting closer, and we've got some resources that I think will help us get there. The face mask is our biggest one, continuing to wash our hands, maintaining that 6 feet of social distance, and then abiding by not only that executive order, but the new memorandum from the Secretary of Defense. And then vaccinations, as recently as Christmas, have made their way to the installation, and we've begun to vaccinate our population in a priority of first responders, so that's our medical, fire, and security teams, our near-term deployers, and then now we're down to general base population that we are prioritizing through this vaccine tasking order that many of you have heard about. So what I've done is I've asked Lieutenant Colonel Jason Rogers from our 301st Medical Team to join us today, and he's going to talk to us just briefly about some of those measures and what life on the installation as far as it relates to the vaccine will look like in the weeks and months to come.
Well, thank you very much, Skipper, for that introduction, and also for your efforts to keep us all safe on the base. We very much appreciate what you've done and the way that you've done it. As it relates to vaccines, we've been given a fair amount. We've reached over 1,000 vaccines that we've given here on base. The other day we were vaccinating a bunch of Air Force members, and one of our pilots said to me, he said, "Jolly, I want you to give me the vaccine that will make me look like Captain America." My wife requested that I get that vaccine. I thought that was pretty funny. So I told that to my wife, and she said, "Well, you should have said that you already used that one on yourself." Clearly that's not the case. And of those 1,000 that we've done, nobody has turned into Captain America, but also nobody has turned into, a zombie, which some people think is going to happen. So I would like to talk a little bit about the symptoms that come along with this vaccine. Most people, including myself, when I got mine, my arm was sore for a few days. That is to be expected. You should expect that kind of a reaction to this. Some other reactions that we're seeing, some body aches, maybe some fatigue, headache, and even fever. If you have those, they usually are only going to last for a couple of days and then they resolve on their own. You can certainly take some Tylenol or some ibuprofen to help with those, but the recommendation is to take those after you receive the vaccine and not before, because it can affect the effectiveness of that vaccine. If you're a flyer or air traffic control, you're going to be down for 48 hours after that administration. And if your symptoms last longer than that, then you might be down for a little bit longer. But usually most folks are feeling pretty good after a couple of days. So what's going on with future vaccines? We've had members walk into our clinics and say, "Hey, what do I got to do to get my vaccine?" Just know that number one, you're going to be notified by your command. They're going to let you know when it's your turn, based on that tiered approach that the skipper was talking about. Number two, the goal is to quickly and safely vaccinate the entire base population. We are working towards that, and it's taking place. The logistics chains that we use to get the vaccine here on base are changing. And there's a lot of reasons for that I'm not going to go into right now, but just know that we are doing that. We're kind of at the tip of the spear, and you will get your vaccine if you decide you want one. A couple of more things about the vaccine. If you accept to get a COVID vaccine, you should not get any other vaccines within 2 weeks, either before or after you get that vaccine. If you've had active COVID, you do still want to get that vaccine. It's going to be helpful and important for you to do that. However, if you are hospitalized, you don't want to get that vaccine within 90 days of your hospitalization unless you have received clearance from your physician to do so. And you can talk to them about that. Doesn't mean you're not going to get it, just means you need to talk to them first before you get that vaccine. If you get another opportunity, let's say you have a supplemental insurance through your spouse or family member, and you want to get that vaccine off base, that's okay to do that. There's a couple things you need to know about that. The first one is that you need to provide that documentation back to whatever medical unit supports your organization. They're going to need that information, and it's going to be important to you moving forward. The other part of that is whenever you get this vaccine, wherever you get the first one, that's the same place that you need to get the second one. And the biggest reason for that is because there's different manufacturers and different entities are receiving different vaccines. So don't plan on getting one off base and then getting one on base. That's not going to work well for you. Wherever you get the first one, that's where you need to get the second one. Another question that's being asked about the vaccine is, what about our kids? Yes, there is intent and there's guidance about vaccinating children. I would recommend that you speak with your pediatrician about that. They can give you the guidance that you need in order to ensure that your children are appropriately vaccinated. Lastly, it's critical to remember that for now, and the skipper touched on this as well, it is very important, even if you get this vaccine, the mitigation efforts that we've been making are not going away. The vaccine is a part of a bigger picture as it relates to mitigating this virus. So the social distancing, the hand washing, the use of barriers, all those things are as important today with the vaccine as they have been in the past. Again, I want to thank the skipper for inviting me out today to talk about these things. Please really consider getting this vaccine. It's important. I got mine, the skipper got his. It will keep you safe along with these other mitigation factors. Thank you.
Okay, I want to thank Doc for coming over from the 301st and sharing with us his expertise and what life looks like on the base going forward with these vaccinations. Again, it is emergency authorization, so strictly voluntary. We have about 40% that are taking it. Those numbers are continuing to increase, I think, as more of our base leaders take it. Some symptoms, I didn't have any symptoms on the first dose. I'm due to get my second dose tomorrow, and I'm hearing about 50-50, 24-hour flu-like symptoms, but I know that I'm gonna be safe going forward in a much safer place having had both doses, so looking forward to that. You'll notice today that we're not over at the base headquarters office. We're over here at the VR-59 Hangar, so I've been here about 6 months now, and the updates that I've given you have come from behind the podium in the headquarters office. But going forward, we're gonna try to provide you an update not only on the medical piece, but what's going on in and around the base. When I do that, I want to get outside the office and take you around this installation. And what better place to start than VR-59, where I was a pilot back in 2006 to 2010. So we're in building 1048, for those that are familiar with the numbers on the base. When I was a pilot in 59, we were over in Tower 4 of building 1050. So a little bit of a move there, but certainly I want to tell Commander Eric Phelps and the XO here at VR-59 and all those in the Lone Star Express that we appreciate them allowing us to use their hangar space today. I did want to go out to Fat Albert today. I get a lot of questions about Fat Albert. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but if you're tracking the weather in Tarrant County right now, it's below freezing. So the last thing I want to do is put myself and Doc and these sailors out there in that cold weather. So we'll plan on doing that going forward in the future. Just some news in and around the base. You may have seen recently, I believe January 31st, Congresswoman Granger came to the Texas Air National Guard, that's the 136, the blue roof buildings on the north end of the base, to announce 2 new aircraft that will be coming to the base. One is the KC-130J. It's going to be part of a new aeromedical evacuation squadron that will come to this base, and it's replacing the C-130 hotel model that's been working that mission over at the Texas Air National Guard since 1978. So you should see those aircraft begin to arrive sometime in calendar year 2021. The other, and this one's been in the press as well, is the F-35 Alpha going to the 301st, led by Colonel Alan Duckworth. This is a longer term plan. We've got some construction in and around the base that's going to be occurring over the next couple of years, but we're due to get 26 F-35 Alphas directly across the runway from Lockheed Martin. They'll move over here starting in summer of 2024. So I know there's a lot of excitement, not only inside the fence line, but outside the fence line in and around Tarrant County for all those Lockheed Martin workers that are on the factory line over there. And then 2 others that weren't announced that day, the Marines are bringing in a new squadron, VMR-1, over in our largest hangar on the installation, Hangar 1050, Tower 4. They'll be flying 2 brand new 737s. We call them C-40s here in the military, but it looks the same as these aircraft that are assigned to VR-59. So I'm excited for those Marines and the maintenance team and air crew that comes with that mission. And then last, further down the road, our Army team over in Grand Prairie flying the CH-47s. You probably saw back in October, they bought 4 of those aircraft to this installation, put some of our sailors on it, and gave us kind of an intro flight as to what their mission looks like. We believe that'll happen in the next couple of years. We've got 2 empty hangars over by our fire department that they'll go into. So excited about those opportunities. Our ability to consolidate air power on this installation and project those forces downrange is certainly going to increase in the years to come. Speaking of aircraft on the installation, I mentioned Fat Albert earlier. I get asked this question quite often by our junior service members on the base. What's Fat Albert doing here? Everybody's seen him. He's typically flying, she flying in air shows with our Blue Angel flight demonstration team around the world. This particular model is the Tango model, C-130 Tango, that was recently retired in 2019. 30,000 hours on that aircraft, 17 years of service with the Blue Angels, and it's landed here in Fort Worth to be a ground-based logistics training aircraft. And we have some future plans to display that to the public. I won't reveal those right now because we're still going through the approval process on what that looks like. But Fat Albert is in fantastic shape. I get requests all the time. Skipper, can I go out there and look at the aircraft? Can I do a re-enlistment? Absolutely. So all those young men and women in uniform that are have an upcoming re-enlistment on the calendar, I want to encourage you to route a request yet through your chain of command to your senior enlisted. You'll contact my command master chief and we'll figure out how, if you want to make that a memorable day for you and your family at a re-enlistment, we'll get you out to Fat Albert. You can take some pictures around a phenomenal aircraft. That being said, re-enlistment around the base, we've done some at the tower. We've done some out on the active runway as the sun's coming up in the morning before we open the airfield, over by the fire department. So my message to you is if there's a place on this base you want to have a re-enlistment, make those 5 W's known to us and we'll figure out how we can accommodate you. Other small announcements before I go over here and just recognize some of my sailors who are doing an outstanding job on the installation. Our Child Development Center hours have now changed from 7 to 4 to 6 to 6. 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. We've brought back a larger portion of that workforce. We're able to keep them safe, still able to keep your children safe. The audience is for mission essential personnel only, but the hours have increased 7 to 4, 6 to 6. In addition to that, I'm excited to announce a new storm shelter that's going to be opening up right behind the Child Development Center. For those of you that are parents and have children over there in that facility, you'll recognize that these are some of the FEMA trailers left over from Hurricane Katrina back in the mid-2000s. They're not quite going to meet the mark for protecting our children in the event of significant weather. So our previous plan was always to move all those children over to our swimming pool facility, but not the best plan. 2 skippers ago, found the funds. We've since constructed an outstanding storm shelter. I'm going to be doing the ribbon cutting on that next Friday, so you'll see those Facebook posts as we go down the road. Eastgate hours, the #1 question I got when I showed up here this summer. Skipper, when's the Eastgate going to open back up? We're through the holidays now. I have the manpower to do that, even though we're in the middle of the solid curtain exercise. But Eastgate has now opened from 6 to 8 in the morning and 1500 to 1730 for outbound traffic in the evening. So if that helps you get 15 extra minutes of sleep because you live up in Keller, Saginaw, Eagle Mountain, Azle area, then I'm excited for you. And we plan to keep that open Monday through Friday as we progress into calendar year 2021. And just some by the ways, Captain's Cup is getting ready to start. I've challenged my MWR team this year, because we still have to social distance, to find events that allow us to keep each other safe, but still compete amongst lieutenant commands that are assigned to this installation. So that began in January. You're gonna see some running events, golf events, cornhole, bowling, and I know we're in the registration phase for a Mario Kart competition. If you can believe that. That's a Nintendo product for all you that grew up in the generation before me. Mario Kart competition registration starts now, and we're going to hold that competition February 26th. There's a 100-mile virtual challenge that I know I'm in the middle of. I've updated on the MWR Facebook page where I'm at and where we're progressing to. And then a nautical mile challenge, a yoga class that has recently been introduced, a swim into spring challenge. If there's not something for you in MWR, let us know and we'll look to help you get back in shape going down the road. Okay, before we sign off for the day, I just want to recognize a few of my sailors who are making mission their priority on this base. They know their job and they do it well, and not only do they do it well, when they're called upon, sometimes they go above and beyond the expectations that I have for them. And that happened a couple of weekends ago. Short notice mission to mobilize 500 National Guardsmen prior to the inauguration and send them forward to the East Coast, specifically out to Washington, D.C. So with little notice, this team that you'll see here, and I'll ask my PAO to pan down the line real quick. With little notice, we're given the mission to not only screen, but load fuel, aircraft to get 500 National Guardsmen on their way to DC. We've got 1 belt loader on this installation, 1 scale, a couple temperature scanners, but more importantly, we've got the greatest asset that any team can have, and that's outstanding people who do an outstanding job for us. So I want to make sure I recognize them by name. I'm going to call out their hometown as we go, and my PAO can follow me. I got Chief Corey Lyle here from Corsica, Pennsylvania, standing next to Chief AS1 Anna Pedregon from Tulare, California, AS1 Stephen Cohen from Salem, Oregon, AD1 Ahmad Mans from Newark, New Jersey, AM2 Ada Infantorium from San Jose, California, and then AO2 Dakota Williams from Rigby, Idaho. And then last, but certainly not the last part of this team, because we had some that could not join us today, but AD3 Michelle Lansdowne from South Ogden, Utah. So you see these sailors as you make your way around the base, or you're out at our transient line by base operations out by the fire department, pat them on the back, thank them for a job well done. They make me look good at the end of every workday, and I've told them, as I gave each of them a coin before we came on camera, that the job they do here at this installation does not go unnoticed. So with that, we're going to sign off on the monthly update, and we'll come back to you in March with happenings on the base. Be safe out there. Skipper out.